see here if I put this. Yeah, there we go.
Hey, Scott,
Like
what
that.
you doing?
I'm building this really cool Star Wars Lego thing here.
That is cool.
See, I got this thing, and it's got the picture there. See the picture right there? It's got this kind of it's like a land speeder thing. And so I got this. I looked through the instructions and I started putting it together. Problem is, it's not looking like the picture much. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So you looked at the instructions, but did you follow them?
I read them. Yeah, I read them. But
did you do them?
Well, no. I read the instructions, but I'm just kind of putting it together on my own.
I think that might be your problem because there's some pieces that are really different than the picture. Maybe if you followed the instructions,
well, it does have kind of step-by-step things, but I looked at every single one of those, but then I decided just to do it the way I felt like it. And it didn't really turn out to look much like the picture. But
that's kind of what happens when we decide to do things our own way instead of following the directions.
Yeah, that's probably right.
That reminds me of the story that Scott and Chris are going to be talking about for Sunday.
Oh yeah, in Jesus, his Sermon on the Mount, he's teaching a bunch of things, and they talked about the end of that sermon where Jesus said, "Hey, how about you read that for us, Becca?"
I think they're building a house. In that one?
They weren't building a land speeder, a Lego land speeder. They were building a house.
Okay, well, let's read it.
Let's hear that.
Okay. So this is Matthew 7, verse 24. Everyone who hears these things I say and obeys them is like a wise man. The wise man built his house on a rock. It rained hard and the water rose. The winds blew and hit that house. But the house did not fall because the house was built on rock. But the person who hears the things I teach and does not obey them is like a foolish man. He built his house on sand. It rained hard, the water rose, and the winds blew, and it hit that house. And the house fell with a big crash.
Oh, so
which kind of man were you in building this?
I guess I really wasn't that wise. See, I knew the instructions. I read the instructions. I didn't follow the instructions. So Jesus was saying, if we listen to what he says and tells us what to do, but we don't do it.
We don't obey.
We don't follow him. We're kind of foolish.
Yeah.
It's kind of like me trying to build this without really following the directions.
What's another way to say foolish?
Maybe
not smart about making
unwise.
Your choices.
It's like some unwise choices. Yeah, the wise man and an unwise person that does that.
Okay.
Well, that story though makes me think, building houses. I don't build a whole lot of houses, but building them on sand versus rock, that kind of makes some sense. But what do you think we try to figure out if that really is true, Becca?
Let's try and prove it.
Let's try to prove it. I've got an idea. Let's go have an experiment.
Oh, yay.
All right. We'll be right back. All right, so we've built our houses. I've built mine on rock, very solid.
Yeah, and I've built mine on sand. We'll see who stands.
Yes, we will, because we're going to find out if it's really true that if you build on the rock, it's much better than the sand.
What do you think?
Let's find out. We are going to have our own storm floods. We have tons of water here. We're going to flood our houses and see what happens. Are you ready, Becca?
I'm ready.
All right, so ready? 3, 2, 1, storm! Flood! 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 You know what? I need more flood.
Whoa!
More flood!
Whoa.
More flood! Whoa! 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 Your house is already going down. Look at that.
Man!
Whoa!
Whoa!
Mine's tilted a little bit. It's still there. It's still up. Look at that.
Mine went down fast.
Oh my goodness! Your house seems to be
it's melting.
melting.
The sand is doing nothing to keep it up.
My rock base is keeping my house solid. Yours seems to be having a bit of a.
It's really
there, Becca.
I think I could have used some rock.
It's kind of falling apart. It sure doesn't help with the sand. See, mine's standing on a rock. See that?
It is. There's no stability here.
There's nothing on yours. Well, I guess we found out. You don't want to build your house on the sand because when the water flood comes, it falls apart.
Falls apart. Breaks right up.
What do you say we go back and find out more about this building your house on a rock.
I like it.
All right, we'll
See you in a
minute.
second.
Wow, that was fun.
That sure was.
Yeah. Well, we did an experiment to
Yeah.
find out if building on a rock and building on sand makes a difference. And guess what we found out?
It does.
Makes a difference. So what happened to your house there, Becca?
It fell with a big crash, just like it said in the
It kind of
Bible.
just fell apart, too.
Yeah.
Now, what happened to my house?
It stood strong.
Stood strong and firm. It was built on rock, and yours was on sand.
Sand.
So I guess we found out that building your house on the rock is a good deal. That is true.
True.
And building your house on the sand is a bad idea, and that is true as well.
Yeah.
So, but Jesus was talking about that. It wasn't just like building houses.
Right.
It was about doing what he said.
Building our lives.
Our lives. He said, now, if you listen to all this sermon I did, if you listen to all the things I taught you, but you don't do them, you're kind of foolish.
Mm-hmm.
You're not wise.
You've
You
made
are
your choices
unwise.
on the sand, and they're going to
Mhm.
fall apart.
And that's just like building your house on the sand, which is not a good idea.
Yeah.
So, Becca, I think if we're going to make some wise choices this week, what do you say we do what Jesus says?
I like it. I think that's a good
You
idea.
know, on my Lego thing, I read the instructions. I just didn't do what it said,
Right.
and so I ended up with my kind of funky looking, not
quite right.
not quite right. So that's what would happen if we didn't really follow Jesus' directions
Yeah.
and follow his teaching. You know, Jesus told us to love our neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's something we could do and find out, that's being wise if we do what he said. What else did he say? He said
Be
to
kind,
be kind.
to those around us.
He also said that, you said that be kind. He said to love our enemies
Enemies.
too. Wow, that's pretty tough.
That's a hard one.
But if we're going to be wise, we're going to do exactly that because we
Mm-hmm.
want to practice what Jesus taught us.
Yeah.
So this week, we've got attached here a lot of ways to practice being wise.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even some things in there that talk about you figuring out what's wise and what's unwise. So you can tell the difference because it's always wise to do what God says.
That's right.
That is true. So this week, make some wise choices, not foolish choices, and see what happens. We love you guys. We miss you. We'll see you later.
Let us know what you find out.
Okay. Then I can think.
Actually, according to this, that piece goes over here.
I got it. I got this. I got
But
this.
it doesn't.
Instructions are not necessary, are they?
I think if you want it to work.
Perfection.
No.
And the wise man's house stood firm, and the foolish man's house went splat. Yeah. Sorry. Stop. Okay. So, Becca, do you ever want to build your own house now?
Sure do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On sand?
Well, that was what I was thinking before, but now I'm not so sure.
Not so sure. How about also not out of foam?
Yeah. I think a good strong wind would maybe. Yeah.
Not a good idea.
Mm-hmm. I like to be warm and dry and safe and not crushed.
True. Okay, I've discovered that Becca doesn't know the movements to a certain song, so we're going to practice this. You ready? Ready?
Ready? Okay.
The wise
Wise
man
man.
built his house upon the rock. Got that?
Okay.
Let's see if you can do it yourself. Ready?
Wise.
Wise man.
The wise man built his house upon the rock.
Good job. Okay,
Okay.
now, you ready for this one?
Okay.
This one's kind of harder. The foolish man built his house upon the sand.
Sand. Okay.
Ready?
So
Set, go.
the foolish man built his house upon the sand.
Good job. Good
Okay.
job. All right. Very good. And then, you ready?
Okay.
The rains came down and the floods came up.
Oh, I know
The
this
rains
one.
came down and
The
the floods came up. Yeah. And the wise man's house stood.
Firm.
But then it happened again. The rains came down and the floods came up. The rains came down and the floods
Yeah,
came
also,
up. But the
that
foolish
one
man's
stood
house
firm?
went. You have to go like this and go splat.
Oh, splat. That
Yeah.
house went splat. Okay.
We'd sing that for you, but we're going to let you do that at home.